In this video, I'm going to talk to you about, well, the old ruling classes. Where have they gone? Gentlemen. The sort of gentlemen that would stand there like, come gather round, chaps. And the gentleman would gather round and say, God blimey, governor. And women would say, oh, he's a proper gentleman. Oh, yes, such good manners. They've gone. They used to run the BBC, Eton, you know the types. All gone. They were labelled privileged. And they're no more. And now we have an arrogant class. And they were replaced by, people calling them privileged. But who are the arrogant classes? Now, if you've never heard that term before, and you might not have done, because it's what I call them, that's why I'm sharing this with you. Isn't it interesting that you may have never heard the term before, but you know exactly who I mean? Think of the arrogant classes, think of a BBC journalist, think of a humanities academic. They think they're self-superior. Everything they do is about vanity, mixed with pushing down the people they hate, you and I normally, and everything English, which is arrogance, thinking you're great and thinking everyone else is contemptible. So we know who they are, the arrogant classes. But where did they come from? Why do they exist? Well, there's the out there reason, as listed by Professor Matt Goodwin, who's brilliant. He's University of Kent, and he's actually a good professor. I can't encourage you to go and find out about him and watch his stuff. And this is what he says, and I don't think he gets any prizes for this, even though he's great. He says they've got these qualifications, which makes them into big heads, my words. So then they get status jobs, which makes them into big heads. And then they go and live together in places like Wimbledon and Hipsterland and East London. Excuse me, I live the moment, feeling every word, which makes them feel superior, but makes them feel and look down at the rest of us. As I know you know, because you're already watching this video if you didn't know that. That's the official line, and that makes sense, doesn't it? But hold on a minute. Why is it we're really furious with today's arrogant classes always preaching at us, always looking down their noses at us? And yet, whilst we complained at the time, there is a whole load of the comeback toffs, all is forgiven, because of the gentleman thing. And here's the difference. The old ruling classes were definitely in charge, and we definitely, God blimey, governor. So they definitely were a ruling class, but they were raised on English values, which is a blend of Christian values, the centrepiece of which was humility. So you might have had the best education. Your granddad might be Earl Marlborough, Duke of Churchill. I'm thinking about Churchill. You might have been the best bred person in the world. You might have lived your whole life with people saying, oh, blimey, Gavin, he's a sir. And yet, if you were Prince Philip and you met a commoner, he liked you. He didn't look at down his nose at you because of that whole gentleman thing. And we still have Jacob Rees-Mogg. So there is the difference. The old ruling elite were raised on humility and duty and honour, integrity and all of those sorts of values. Whereas the new ruling elite hate all things English. It's part of their arrogance. Everything that came before them was terrible. It's on the school curriculum. And part of that is they're just not raised on English values, including humility. They're taught scorn for them because being arrogant, they despise everything that isn't them. So they don't just have no humility, no restraint on their arrogance. They literally scorn the value. Oh, it's British. That's so 1950s. Oh, we're better than that. That's why they have that, that genre of books, the F, the genre. So there is the difference. Because I would go a little bit left field here, but I don't know, I just think the whole history of humanity has been a case of an arrogant class looking down its nose at the plebs. And you think about Roman times, the patricians. Oh, Julius Caesar, he was poor, but he could trace his family back to the original 100 senators that were there at the birth time of Rome. And that made him a member of the aristocracy. And then you can fill in your gaps yourself. So there's always been a ruling class that's looked down its nose at the elites. And all over the world, that's caused all sorts of aggravation, but never in England, because our old ruling classes were just a little bit more refined. Unlike our new arrogant class. Boo, boo. But as a teaser now for my next video, it's really easy to say, yeah, well, they got qualifications, they got more money, and they got the nice houses, so they think they're better than everyone else. And yeah, and they're taught to scorn humility, so that's going to make them even worse. But humility, and bigotry, it's all the same thing. They are taught. You can actually teach the attitude, see yourself as superior. And I'm going to explain that next. See you in a bit.